So I know I said my last video for the Chakra Series was going to be the crown video that I did last week, but my wife said that I should add a capstone for it, and I think she's right. I think that in the entirety of the series that I did, I focused a lot on the metaphysical properties of each of the chakras, and I think now in retrospect that it ended up being a bit more woo-woo kind of fairy dust than I meant it to. I don't really know how to discuss the chakras beyond what the organs are associated with them without coming off a bit metaphysical. So I wanted my last video in the series to sort of tie everything together in a way that for me is the most powerful influence of the chakras, and that's their voice. I think that the medical field does a great job isolating and treating individual organs, and one of the problems with the medical sciences is that when you are seeing a specialist, they tend to specialize on the area that they have their specialty. And often, unless it's like a Dr. House situation where you have multiple experts sitting in the same room looking over your case, things can be missed because views aren't taken on organ groups and the interaction with the rest of your body as a whole. In fact, that's what really good doctors are able to do, is see the connection between bones and muscle and nervous tissue and organ systems. What I mean by voice for these energy centers, for these organ collections, is that for me, they interact with my consciousness in a way that's very helpful. That I think this realm of talking exists under the domain of Reiki, and it's why I include it in the videos. So what do I mean by that? I mean that your body has ways of informing you of the data that the areas of the body have and deal with in modes and ways that your consciousness can perceive. And we even have colloquialisms, we have sayings that surround these effects. Just to get a little crude right off the bat, we have this saying in English about tightening your butt cheeks when there's a stressful situation, when you need to deliver on something you've been planning to do, when it's the moment of action. And your root chakra has to do with your connection to your legs and your connection to the ground, which we both physically and psychologically view as like the lowest level. And it's easy, particularly if you spend your days just like gaining information, looking at videos on YouTube, to stay up in your head and not be aware of the ground underneath your feet. This is what I mean when we have sayings that work into this type of energy awareness. So when we give Reiki to our root chakra, when we focus on a healthy connection to it, we are focusing on not just our connection to a psychological concept of survival, which can mean so many things, but more on our grounding, our connection to the ground, our root that connects us to the physical world, so that we are making our decisions not fancifully, not without regard to the physical world, which can end up in problems, right? But with our feet firmly planted on the ground, do we make our path forward? When you're dealing with the sacral, with like your pelvis region, that has a lot to do with digestion. And digestion is, again, a psychological concept, but it includes multiple different organs. Those organs all flow through your sacral region. You're talking about small intestine, large intestine. Your digestion is not just a reflection of genetic components about your body, just biological components. It has a lot to do with stress levels. And so when we are focusing on our energy, when we're focusing on our thoughts and our will, we should be going with the flow in order to enact these things, not butting up against a wall. And so we should be flowing around our problems or overcoming them, flowing over them in order to experience a pleasurable life. When you're dealing with your solar plexus chakra, God, like, talk about voice. We have so many sayings talking about our gut instinct. Instinct, for most people, is associated with the gut. We have our gut intuition. We have all of these sayings that revolve around our gut being a core part of interacting with the world in a instinctual and true and right way. That is because our stomach has as many nerve systems connecting into it as our brain does. Our stomach, spleen, pancreas, and all of the nerves that connect that region almost function as a second brain. And yeah, it will give you signals. If you pay attention to your stomach, if you have a sinking feeling, then it's time to get out of there. If your gut is filled with butterflies, then you're on the right track. We have these things for a reason. It's because we've developed them over hundreds, if not thousands of years in reaction to our consciousness running our bodies and interacting with it. You go into the chest and you have your heart moving, and your heart adjusts also to your energy. I mean, if you inflict direct pain on your body, yeah, your heart rate will rise, but it'll rise because of environmental data that you are defining through your choices. And that's how you get situations where you're on a first date with someone and your heart is fluttering, or when you're dreading something, your heart will pump hard to keep blood going to all your extremities so you can deal with the thing that you're dreading. Your heart can be fickle. We have these sayings like, listen to your heart, follow your heart. But sometimes you know that following your heart and following its fickleness can be a problem. You don't want to walk into situations that your heart has led you into only to be betrayed because your heart was not thinking with your head. Those are the types of wounds that we learn in our infancy and when we're teenagers that teach us to include our heart into the chorus of all of the inputs and intuitions and voices that we contain within ourselves. When you go to your throat, your voice, God, your thyroid gland, like, the balance of your thyroid gland is the, like, biological, not even biological, like neurochemical, hormonal way in which you experience the world. We talk about drugs, like drugs are the big thing that we have to put into our body to alter it. Talk to someone who has hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism and see how difficult their life is just because one organ that connects to a whole lot of other things is off-regulated or off balance. Your thyroid is so important. Keeping yourself biologically and neurochemically and hormonally healthy through stress regulation, through diet, through exercise is extremely important just for the basis of how we perceive the world. You move up to the brain. I mean, the brain is self-explanatory. We do basically most of our things with it. I've made countless videos at this point. Well, not countless, but definitely dozens, all talking about how Reiki interplays with the brain. You've got left hemisphere, right hemisphere, forward, frontal lobe that does all of this fancy social stuff. All of this stuff moves about as your electromagnetic energy that represents your brain waves, and the activity, the swelling of blood in different areas of your brain regulating what we perceive of as consciousness. And we don't understand. I mean, I have a BA in psychology, philosophy. I've met neuroscience people. I've met quantum physicists. We are still in our infancy of understanding how the brain manifests consciousness, how consciousness is manifested all along the body, which is what I'm kind of arguing here, in the sense that our organ systems can interact with our consciousness and give us signals and guidance, right? There's so much we don't understand about the brain, and I could make a million videos talking about using Reiki to help and augment the brain, and how the brain is the engine and yet the plaything of consciousness itself. And then finally you have the crown, and I know there's no real like organ system associated with the crown, like I just said in the last video, but it represents our barrier with the outside world and the greater environment, and that environment is incredibly complex and incredibly tough to deal with sometimes. It's the entire environment, it's everything that's not you, and that can be overwhelming. And so that's why we associate the crown with the spiritual presence, whatever you call it, whether you call it Reiki or God or nature or Odin or whatever it is. That is, I think, why our energies eventually move into the spiritual when it comes to the complexity of not only the world outside, but the world within. We seek a path, and I think that a healthy crown is akin to a healthy spiritual life that doesn't have to go any one way, but should go somewhere. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the series. I hope you're enjoying the channel. We've been getting more and more people. The shorts are doing really well, so I'm gonna try making more of those as well. And from here on out, I'll just be making content based on what I'm thinking about and what I think people watching this channel might want to hear. Thanks, guys.